Hello, I'm Rex Childhouse, and because things on the internet seem to lose their date references pretty easy, today is June 26, 2023, Monday, and this video has to do with our visit to the Stikine Ice Cap in Alaska, and we were there on May 24th, 2023, while on the Disney Wonder Cruise. And to address one issue, you're going to see there's probably a couple of photos of me in this. I don't look real happy. I had some dental work done right before our vacation, and it was wrong. It wasn't done right, and they didn't have time to correct it. And it felt like I had a 16-penny nail jammed up in my jaw. I was on a soft food diet, nothing hot, nothing cold. Anything hot or cold just drove me off the edge of the pain scale, and I wasn't sleeping. So I'm dog tired. I'm on a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. I'm trying to enjoy it, and I'm in severe pain. So sorry about that. It was a very interesting trip. We got off to Disney Wonder, got on a smaller boat, went farther up, and then the Disney Wonder came up almost as far as we did. Let's get on with the video. It was fantastic.
One of the unexpected surprises, maybe expected surprises on this trip, up to the Stikine, as I understand it, ice cap. The difference between an ice cap and a glacier is the size. To me, they're both massive amounts of ice, so they're both glaciers. And we'll get into some other things. We found orcas, and we found several of them, and they were up here after the seals. And I'm going to let you run through and just watch the videos of the orcas, and then I'll pick it up when the orca videos are over.
They're over there. Watch out, the activity over there.
It's a bit zoomed out, but I hope it's good enough.
The orcas are up here because of the seals, and the seals are those brown spots sitting on these ice floes and icebergs or growlers. An ice floe is a piece of flat ice. An iceberg is a massive structure. It's over a certain size, like 45, 50 feet long, something like that. And a bergie is a smaller piece of ice that's not flat. It's also called a growler. In the Navy, we called them growlers. And there were seals all over the place up here. I'm going to let you just watch the seals.
250 feet above water, 350 feet below water, and it's an estimate. Only because we were up with them earlier.
It's a lot different, like in person, than it is like on the documentaries and stuff you see. You see on documentaries, like, oh, they're probably pretty big. When you're here, it's like, wow, that's big.
But from here, yeah, 250 feet above water, 350 feet below water, give or take. But it still doesn't look that big. It just looks huge. But how do you measure it?
Yeah.
I mean, how close are we? When you're out on the open ocean on an aircraft carrier and you find an iceberg that challenges your size, you know that it's big.
Well, it shows up, right, I assume?
Well, I did 19 and a half years as a naval aviator.
Oh, that's it.
And I was bridge qualified on an aircraft carrier. And we would have our, I know the rating. Our nav enlisted guys, we would have them check with our watch standards every 5 minutes to make sure they were still on the ball.
So you were up here?
I would have been up there.
Well, no, like.
We pulled the Nimitz into Anchorage on one occasion, but I lived in Japan on the Midway for 5.5 years.
Okay.
On the Nimitz for 2.5, and then 11 others for days and months at a time.
It's cool though.
I got him.
A lot of my buddies, before we went our own ways for college and stuff, a few of them went to, one's in the Marines now, one in the Navy, 2 of them are Air Force pilots now. So it's always interesting hearing other stories of where they're based. It's all different places, and it's all very different environments.
Yeah, I've only been in 29 different countries that I can remember.
Still more than most people. It's cool though.
People ask me what my favorite port call was. Home.
Look close. This is 2 adults and 1 pup on a crawler.
Daddy's gonna jump in.
Daddy's right here. Camila, look at the seals, baby.
Hey, come look at the seals.
So we can cross them off on the map. Camila, do you see them on that piece of ice?
You see that ice right there? It's moving. All right, let's use that binocular. Oh yeah, let's bring it to and then look at the baby one. Oh wow. Yeah, it's the one closest to us.
So there's 3 total?
3 total. The baby one is very light in color.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. He's saying. Wait.
This is the Stikine, I believe that's how it's pronounced, ice cap. Massive chunk of ice. Prior to getting on the boats, there was a presentation on the Disney Wonder. They brought in a geologist, I believe he was, PhD, and he talked about this, and his statement was the face of this ice cap or glacier was estimated at 250 feet above normal water level and 350 feet below normal water level. You'll see later on that the Disney Wonder comes up almost as far as we did on our little tour boats. Yeah, so this was a deep, wide fjord, and we saw no chunks fall off, but I apologize for the videos. I've got heads in it, I got other people. We've got probably 45, 50 people on this tour boat, and we're all trying to get the best photos we can.
think all those brown spots are? You're doing good. You know what the name of that seal on the left out there is? Dinner.
When you book a Disney cruise, for us at least, they gave us a date that we could book additional cost tours, and we did that. We grabbed this one here. It was a small boat tour leaving the Disney Wonder, going up to the face of the Stikine Ice Cap, and we're glad we did it. We didn't know how far the Disney Wonder was going to make it up the Fjord. Captain Thorpe of the Disney Wonder said that he wasn't sure. No boats, no big ships had made it up very far prior to our cruise, and you'll see later on that the Disney Wonder came almost to the exact same spot that the small boats did. But still, as we left the Disney Wonder farther down the fjord, we went off on some of the side inlets and valleys, saw some interesting stuff, and then came up here. I think this was well worth the money. As addressed earlier, there's a difference between an ice floe. Ice floes are flat. This section of the video starts out with the ice floes, and then bergies, which are small non-flat pieces of ice, or growlers. The Navy calls them growlers, or at least people I was with call them growlers. They're smaller than icebergs. They're like less than 50 feet or something. And as you look at some of these growlers, you'll see that some of them are really blue. They're the ones that just flipped. As they're in the water, they're melting, and as the center of gravity changes, they'll flip. And there's some really bright blue ones in here, and they're the ones that just flipped. While we were on the cruise, on the small boats up here, I had just turned off my camera and looked over, and one of them flipped, and I tried to get my camera back on in time. It takes seconds for these guys to flip. It was really cool, and I regret not getting it.
Why are they all here? Where's the rest of it? Well, we didn't see any.
As they melt, they get some really interesting shapes, architecture. Nature is just beautiful at this. And as I said earlier, look at the blue ones. The deeper the blue, the more recent they flipped. And these are just absolutely beautiful. As you look at the starboard bow of the Disney Wonder, you see this appendage sticking out, and we weren't quite sure what it was. It hadn't been there before. We'd been down to the forecastle, so we knew that they had areas that they could open up on the side of the ship and put lines and whatever else out. We didn't know what this was. We solved it a little later in the day.
What is that mysterious black mass?
They captured a growler and brought it on board and put it up by one of the swimming pools, and you could go over and touch it and play with it and whatever else. This was just kind of cool. Kids were having a ball with this, and I mean, this is just one of the added things that they did on the Disney Wonder. They didn't have to do this, but it was a kick, and kids were taking away some of the chunks of the ice that were laying around the deck as their little prizes, and it was just fun.
Tell you more about them a little bit later. We'll see a lot more. Very interesting bird.
Yeah, it is awesome,
There were a number of very active waterfalls in various places up the fjord. This is a video of just one of them, static photos of waterfalls or videos with people's heads in them. This is the best one I've got. It was, and they were loud. They were beautiful.
Got it.
One of the advantages of purchasing the small boat tour up the fjord is they run you off on side inlets on other fjords, minor fjords off the major one, which the Disney Wonder did not go in. And this is just some of the photos I took of the area. Absolutely beautiful. This place is pristine. It's absolutely beautiful. This is a photo of the other tour boat that was with us, the small tour boats. There were two of them identical. Ours was the St. Peter. When we pulled into one of the following ports, the St. Peter was actually tied up next to us. And along with this, the Disney Wonder pulls up in the fjord, and I've got some photos of it. This is a big ship. Now, normally, my intention had been to when we got back on, to get down in the stateroom because one of the channels on the television system gives you the ship's latitude and longitude, course, speed, water depth, wind, stuff like that. And I wanted to get that to see how deep this fjord was. It was deep, and it was big. And the Disney Wonder, I'm going to have videos here. The Disney Wonder comes up here, and I'm used to aircraft carriers. We don't have bow thrusters, we don't have stern thrusters. The Disney Wonder has 3 bow thrusters, 2 stern thrusters, and she literally pivots in place to come out of here, and that's the end of the video. This was a fantastic tour. The getting on small boats was an advantage. Staying on the Disney Wonder was great. And along with this, you're going to see how they got us back on board, and how they got us off was the reverse thing. As you leave the ship, you have to show your Disney Everywhere Pass, whatever it's called, your little card. It has to be recorded so they know exactly who's on the ship at any time. When you're coming back on board, you have to check back in. You have to have your card scanned again, and they make sure it's really you. They look at your photo and they look at you and make sure it's really you. Really efficient operation. This was obviously not the first time they'd done this. It was a great tour. We had a lot of fun. Part of the added value was the 45-minute to an hour discussion with the PhD guy, geologist, hydrologist, whatever he was, very knowledgeable, before we even got on the cruise, before we even got on small boats. That was, he just had a whole lot of information about how these things form. Yeah, overall, it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the viewing. Thanks for watching.
Love the architecture on the ice floes. The ship is turning in spot. St. Peter.
You can't tell it that way. Hopefully they'll see a whale.
We are just pivoting in spot. We're right on top of his wake from when he came through. So he was obviously talking to our pilot and our captain. With the bow thrusters and the stern thrusters.